Hey, howdy, friends. It's Steve DePoe here with the Rose Realty team with this week's Real Estate Live for North Texas. Hey, today we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of agents kind of shied away from during having conversations with the potential clients and people in real estate about, and that's trying to explain the Department of Justice ruling or outcome that took place this past summer. I'm by no means a super duper expert in it, but I do know there's a couple of changes that have taken place in the industry that both us as agents and you as potential buyers or sellers have to know about. Um, so that's my disclaimer that I'm not a super duper expert in it, and let's move on. So the most significant change that took place was that buyers, the number one, the um, if there's any commission, buyer's commission that's offered by the seller, that's no longer going to be posted in MLS. Okay, it's all negotiable now. To be honest about it, was always negotiable, at least with our brokerage. Okay, and our company, it was always negotiable. But I think there was erroneous assumptions that were made by people in the public. Okay, that's the best way to put it, and they thought that this was a fixed thing and everybody did this and etc. I know from personal experience that that's not exactly true. But again, the what it means is the commission is no longer going to be published in the multiple listing service, and so we don't know going in how much the seller may be offering to the buyer's agent or the buyer in terms of compensation or commission. Um, the new ruling, now this part is very important. Okay, that the new ruling mandates that a buyer agreement be signed between the buyer rep and the buyers themselves, with the buyer rep, before they even go look at a house. Okay, so I can send you all the houses you want. I mean, you're looking for a 3 bedroom and a 55 plus community, or or a 4 bedroom in North Lake. I can send you all that information that you want, or you'll be sick of it. However, before you say, "Hey, Steve, I want to go see these 3 houses," before we even step foot in that first house and I unlock that first door for you, you have to sign the agreement. Now, the agreement has different levels, and there's just different levels of service that I can provide at this point, and also that my compensation or professional fees, are also negotiable, and that's stated in the form. And so, what I generally do with my potential clients is, especially if they're coming from like out of town, I'll say, hey, I'll send them the form. I'll say, just look through it. Okay, just look through it, and I'll explain it to you when we get outside the house, or maybe we'll meet in an office, or maybe we'll meet at your hotel or something like that. um, but what's important is that before an agent opens a door for you to show you a house, you have to have that buyer representation agreement signed. Otherwise, what that means is that agent actually is working for the seller. Okay, is working for the seller and not working for you. So that's important to know. If the now So what'll happen? So here's the process, right? So you sign that agreement, and I say, hey, I want 3% commission, professional fees, and then you're gonna say, hey, I like this house, I want to buy it. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to call the other agent and I'm going to say, hey, I'm Steve. I represent a client. They're on the buyer rep agreement. Um, we're interested in this house that you're selling. Is there a buyer's agent compensation being offered? Now, let's say that they're offering 2%, and I told you my fees are 3%. Okay, one of two things are going to happen. Okay, Either I'm going to say, hey, look, we agreed on three, they're offering two, you owe me one. Okay. Or if it was like, man, we liked the first house we saw, I didn't do a whole lot of work, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm happy with two. Okay. And we're going to modify the agreement down to two. Okay. So it all depends on kind of like what's going on. And so we have to sort of communicate with one another and communicate with the seller's agent and the seller to understand what's being offered and who's paying and who's paying what. Hey, before we go any further, we really would appreciate it if you'd go to youtube.com/outmoving to Dallas, Texas. That's our YouTube channel. You might already be there if you're watching this vlog. And then subscribe to our channel and like our channel and the video. Really appreciate that. The number one that lets you know when we have new videos and new stuff, new content and new stuff comes out. And at the same time, it kind of helps us out that our subscriber base kind of increases. Doesn't cost you anything, no fees involved. But we really would appreciate it. We appreciate for you for doing that, and thank you tremendously. Okay, next. So what's going to happen, right, is, like I said, I'm going to call the other agent and I'm going to say, hey, what compensation, what professional fees, what concessions are your seller offering. Now, if they're offering a section of money, if they're offering $10,000 towards concessions, you could use that money any way you want. Okay. You could say, hey, let's take that money, stick it in our pocket and paint the house. Let's use that. And then they'll cut you a check at the end, right? Or reduce the amount of, or reduce the amount of the offer. Or you could put that towards professional fees, or you could put that towards closing fees, like appraisal fees and that kind of stuff, right? So it's up to you, how you want to use. It's up to you. It's up to us to understand what those concessions are, and then how you want to handle it, how you want those fees, kind of used in the overall processes. That also, depending on whether the a seller is offering compensation or not, okay, it might also depend on how we handle the offer. Just had a client who made an offer on a house and there were no professional fees being offered. And I said, well, we had this agreement and it was my fee was going to be such and such percent. And so what we did is and this is stated in the paperwork, we added those professional fees to our offer, and we said the seller will pay those professional fees, which basically means that the buyer was getting the house for so much and then was adding professional fees to it, but the seller was only getting the offer price and was going to refund or rebate back, if you will, those professional fees to me. Okay. And essentially they included those professional fees in the mortgage. The house mortgage, the house appraised out, wasn't a big deal. And they just decided to amortize the professional fees throughout the course of the mortgage. Not a big deal. It can be done. It depends on the price of the house and the appraisal of the house. And then next to last here is that due to all these changes, it's important for buyers and sellers, but especially buyers, to understand how what you want to call a buyer education, to understand how things have changed, what your rights are, and all those kinds of things. We can help you understand that, and how the market has changed, and how the industry has changed. I'd have to say that at this point, with the sales the buyers that I've worked with, in the last 4 or 5 months, still 3/4 of the sellers are offering compensation, for the buyer's agent, and that 25% probably are not offering, that full amount. Okay, and so not a tremendous amount has changed, but it's still a process that we have to walk through, especially with the buyer rep agreement. It's still a process that we have to walk through, when we have to work with, in order for it all to, to be ethical and legal. Um, this also allows us to, as agents, to adapt to this and offer different specialized offerings. So, hey, if you just want me to unlock a door, for you, because you think you're going to represent yourself, well, I can do that. If you're going to get sort of like the full boat of services, there's a fee for that. It's sort of a tiered approach. And if you want me to do more, than the standard bucket of services, there's fees for that. And so it's so you up front, at least when you work with me, I educate you, I let you know these things, I tell you how much these fees will run you. And there are people out there who say, oh, I'm not paying that much for that. But there are also people that say, just to make it easier, lower stress, yeah, let's do that. Let's just, let Steve handle it all, because we're out of town, or maybe we're a little older, or we've been through this before. We don't want to be bothered, et cetera, et cetera. And so then I kind of take over. But sorry to say, there's a fee associated with that, right? So I hope that was kind of helpful. Much more to come on that, and we'll keep you abreast of the changes, as much as we can. Hey, next week we're going to talk. We have this offering with us inside of our team in our company, called real estate planning. And we're actually kind of slowly turning our company and our team in that direction. And next week we're going to explain a little bit about what this real estate planning is all about, and is that, maybe it's something that you're interested in. It's just not your traditional buying and selling of real estate, but it has to do with your legacy and maintaining wealth, for you and your family. So we're going to explain that next week. I am Steve. I am with the Rose Realty team. So long.